my friend. Welcome back to the MindShift Podcast. I hope this day finds you well. And thank you for taking some time out once again to be here with us for another incredible interview with a very exciting guest. Her name is Sarah Guidas. She's the founder and CEO of Second in Command Academy, where visionaries place their second in command for higher level training. With 8+ years as a second in command herself at three $1 million plus startups, she's now on a mission to teach integrators how to have better systems, more confidence, better operational skills, and improve the cost of goods served and improve COGS to improve performance metrics within their business. She has quadrupled one startup. She's built remote and international teams from 2 to 50 plus employees in less than 2 years. She's maintained a 90% retention rate with an international team. She's also helped restructure a department overseas, resulting in a 76% decrease in salary costs. I can go on and on and on, but when I first met Sarah, I actually hired her for a short-term consulting engagement when I was going through some changes in my company. And that's how we got a chance to meet. From my experience working with her and just through our communication over the last couple of years, I knew I needed to have her on this show once I heard that she broke out on her own and started her own venture. Sarah, welcome to MindShift.
Thank you so much, Darrell. That was an incredible introduction, first of all. I'm so excited to be here with you today and really, really excited for our chat.
I appreciate it. Everyone compliments me on these intros, but you guys, you're the person who created the intro. If you weren't so amazing, I can't make that stuff up. I can't make it up.
The delivery is just top notch.
There you go. Well, I'm here to make sure we do it right, So, Sarah, all seriousness, I'm super excited to have you here. I think we connected 4 or 5, 6 months ago. You were just getting started with your business or just fully getting onboarded. I think we invited you back then, but scheduling, it wasn't quite right. And so I'm really glad to have you here today. Tell our audience where you're joining us from.
Yeah, I am in today from Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. I'm a Phoenician. I'm a native here, one of the few remaining.
There you go. Not too far away. I'm over here in Vegas. So that's fantastic. So when did you get your start in the world of operations and business?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was a little over 8 years ago at my very first startup. So it was just a couple of years after I graduated college. It was at a marketing agency and I had a title. It's kind of like, you're at a startup, there's 4 or 5 people and you have a title, but it's really like you're doing all the HR and marketing and operations. You just don't really know it at the time. I'm like 23, 24 years old. And that's where I really got to understand how to start to build a company that was very small as well. And I got to play in so many different departments and understand the marketing component, understand the people management component, recruiting, building the team. And that has kind of scaled over the 8 years from there. But really, the last 6 years is when I realized, operations is an actual role. And it's this kind of silent killer skill that I had that I didn't realize was such a asset to companies and to growth and to structure and scalability. And so about 5 years ago, this amazing woman whose name is Shayna Weisinger, who was kind of like a mentor to me at the time, she knew that I really wanted to transition my title from what was a marketing director role at the time, where I was actually that second in command, also doing ops, to a full ops position and help kind of grow another company from the scratch again, because I had learned so much prior. And she came to me with this great idea of a company called Repurpose House, where I got to be her integrator as well from the jump and grow. And that's where I really felt like I got to leverage so much of what I learned and be her COO and help that company eventually go to acquisition. So the last 8, 9 years, off and on in different titles with different startups.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you always, I know a lot of people get into operations, and myself included, and it's too much. I understand it all. I've got a degree in business. I've been in business 30 years. I understand literally what all the pieces are supposed to do, but just the idea of systems and processes and all the things, right? Tell me something.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about your personality, I call it your DNA, your definite natural ability that draws you to the, I don't want to get in trouble, draws you to the chaos of operations?
I will take that wording because
You
it's
know I'm
true.
right.
When you're in,
You know I'm right.
you're 100%. When you're in operations, you have to be really great at managing things that come up into fire mode almost on a daily basis, because when you're in ops, right, it's like anything that can happen or come up in any department is on you immediately. But I don't know. To me, I think it's that I really love the relationship between integrator and visionary. So the person who's really doing the ops hands on, usually a title like director of ops or sometimes executive assistant or COO, and the visionary, the actual CEO. And because in my career I've gotten to work so closely with CEOs, I really got a chance and really thrived in understanding where I fit in the model of growing a business and where they fit. They are great at coming up with the ideas, thinking really big, and I've always been really great at implementing and motivating people below me to also implement in a really clean way. I've thrived in like systems. Honestly, to me, I say like systems are what help you sleep at night. That's truly how I feel. So if I can create a process around something, I have immediate comfort. So to me, it's like these things make me feel better. Being able to create SOPs and models that people are excited to follow and going to follow, making sure the right people are in the right seats. Um, that feels really exciting to me. Then knowing it's also fueling like that CEO, that person above me, so we're all in the right seat, and that relationship is what I really really like and love.
Mm, mm, that's
Yeah.
great. For the audience that are not familiar, you used a couple phrases, visionary and integrator. Can you elaborate on those two terms for those that are not familiar with the background of those two terms?
Yes, absolutely. So, Darrell and I were actually just chatting about this, but there is an incredible book that I love called Traction, and it really teaches companies the concept of what we call EOS, an entrepreneurial operating system. And there's a lot of great concepts within that book. One of them are the terminologies visionary and integrator. So the visionary is someone who usually is the one owning that CEO position or co-founder position. They are the ones who put on that hat and they see the vision for and solution for this problem. They're the ones who have created the company out of an amazing brainstorm or epiphany. And the integrator is really the person who can help be on the ground, getting their hands dirty, making it happen, and implementing XYZ to make that vision happen. The integrator is helping to steer the ship based on the vision that the CEO is creating. So it's really CEO and their right hand, or their second in command, as they like to call it. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you for that. You said
Mm-hmm.
earlier that the second in command, and I love the name of your academy, by the way, because second in command academy, you said it earlier, that could be a COO, that could
Mm-hmm.
be an executive assistant,
Mm-hmm.
or some other title in the organization. And of course, anyone
Yeah.
who's worked at a startup knows that your title is absolutely means nothing, because you end up doing 17 jobs and the other person's doing
Yes.
13 jobs, and so everybody's doing everything. But why do you call it second in command, and how do you feel that your training and your style of educating that person, why second in command, and why could it be a COO all the way down to an executive assistant? It's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I even to piggyback off that have someone who's a project manager. That's their title in Second in Command Academy, and they're a startup of 3 people. It's them, the CEO, or the CEO, them, and then someone who's under them. So it can be any title. It's really the person who is the right hand to that CEO, making everything happen. They're essentially also the one who's the middleman between the rest of the team and the CEO. They're the one who's delegating, making sure all projects need to happen, and then usually also doing the projects, depending on how much help that they have as well. So the second in command is just the person who is the one closest in charge alongside their CEO. The second in command is the one who the rest of the team is going to report to. So there is that buffer between them and the CEO. They're the one who's going to be on the ground implementing things and making sure everything's happening that's supposed to be happening. And so in startup life, that can be the executive assistant. Sometimes the CEO will hire an executive assistant, and they're the ones who are helping with scheduling, but they're also helping with marketing or partnerships or outreach or delegation. And depending on the size of the team and how the org chart looks, whoever is right under the CEO that's managing the rest of the team, that's the person who is an integrator. So I like to use words like second in command and integrator because the titles can be so different. Sometimes it can be a 5-person team and they are the COO or the director of ops too. So it really just depends on the title they've been given. But a lot of the times the responsibilities are the same. It can fall under like recruiting, making the CEO's life easier, whatever that's going to look like, and then the actual sometimes deliverables and fulfillment of what the company is offering.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is it in your opinion that this second in command can be trained to be as good as you are, or is it really something that's born into people in order to be able to handle the multiple responsibilities of playing a role at second in command? And I know that I'm on the visionary side, if we're going to use those words, right? I'm definitely on that side. I have the ability to do things, but my head starts hurting after so long. Like, I know how to work. I know how to do things. I built businesses I was living on a couch at one time with 2 bags of clothes.
Yeah.
I know what it takes to do all the things. but my head hurts after a while when I'm doing too many things that are outside of my gift. Is being a number 2 trainable? And I'm assuming everything is, but what's your perspective from people that you see coming into your academy? Do they already have the gift and they need structure and organization, or are they really trying to get a handle on this second in command type thing from the get-go?
I think they do. They innately need to have some core foundations, but so much else can be trained on top of that. So what I mean is like the trainable part is here's how to learn how to build like automations that are going to be core for some of your systems and processes. A lot of the strategy, like that part, can absolutely be trained. If they are the ones who's also responsible for building the team and recruiting, hiring overseas, outsourcing over shores, all that is trainable. They can learn that. So that's a lot of what's in the academy. That's like one layer. The part that is much harder to train is like high level abilities to that a second in command needs like for one, being able to see ripple effects at any given time. So let's say your CEO comes to you or anyone comes to you and they have an idea, the second in command has to be the one to be able to see the ripple effects of what's going to happen if that does or doesn't get implemented. So like they absolutely have to be able to see that, and it has to come pretty quickly to them. Another one is like, I think communication and some leadership in terms of being able to stay calm and collected, patience, those things you have to have in you, because when you are a second in command, you're dealing with those fires like we talked about all the time. And that has to be a person that has a presence of cool, calm, and collected while being able to work really quickly. So there are some things that like innately need to, I think, be inside of you to feel like you're thriving and set up for success in this role. But there's so much more of the logistics that's trainable, and that can really help them. And like tracking churn, understanding and learning about profit margins, all of those things are important, but you can learn them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks for the distinction on that. I thought something you said was fantastic, and that is they have to be able to see the ripple effect. And I'm not saying I know CEOs like this, but some CEOs, they change their plan daily, weekly with a new idea. I'm not saying I know anybody like that. I'm not saying I don't know anybody. I'm not saying, Sarah, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say that. But sometimes the visions, they just don't stop coming. They come too fast. But
Mm-hmm.
you said being able to see the ripple effect. How do you coach your second in command students on not just seeing the ripple effect, but being able
Mm-hmm.
to push back, bring
Yeah.
to a pause, identify with the CEO or leader that, hey, there is a ripple effect to what we're about to do. And I thought we were taking the ship this way. And that's going to take us
Yeah.
that way. How do you coach your students around this?
Okay, I love that because that's two parts. So for the first part, coaching them on seeing the ripple effects, I like highly encourage them and take time with them to get in each department. So depending on how big the company is, like this is the person who's still on the ground, they're doing things. They should understand like every department and have been usually the one to help create and develop it. Like they first need to know what's truly going on in every area of the company. And sometimes that means okay, if you don't know, sometimes you have to do like one-on-ones with each person in the department. Sometimes you have to look at the processes that are happening and how much or how far, how closely are your direct reports following processes that were set up a while ago. And you have to get in it so that you're understanding everything that's happening. So when people come to you and have ideas, or when whether it's a direct report or a CEO, your lead, you understand all of the moving parts. A lot of that also means like they need to be the one building automations and systems and then delegating other people to follow them and lead them after they're built. So if my second in commands don't have a ton of experience with that, we're going to be focusing on that so that every single system or process that has to be created, they're owning it and then teaching it to their team to maintain if it's sales or if it's fulfillment, whatever that looks like. That's going to help them there. Um, and then in terms of having conversations, like with your CEO, for instance, if they do come to you with ideas that are going to pivot us in a different direction we weren't expecting, and you don't think it's going to be the best idea, it's exciting because I have like material and exact like content on this in the academy, like a conversation script. I like them to get there with the CEO by asking questions because more often than not, it's that the CEO has been so removed from the day to day of the hands-on work that's happening or the recurring tasks that have to happen or the systems that are happening that they just don't remember. And so it's actually the second in command's responsibility, it's their duty to remind the CEO of these things. So
Mm.
let's say the CEO wanted to shift how client onboarding is happening. The second in command would have to come with questions like, well, what do you think of this? Or our retention is currently at this. Here's how that might affect that. Like, what are your thoughts? Or how are we going to combat XYZ when this happens? And more often than not, you come to a really great, like, solution together, or they're just going to realize, okay, this may not be the best thing right now. So, asking questions, I feel like, is the best way to approach that.
Great question. I mean, it's a great way of doing it because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times CEOs will forget the things that were put in place for and for what reason they were put in place. And
Mm-hmm.
then by asking those questions, you're allowing that person to think back to the original decision in the first place, which
Yeah.
is great. I always say that, and I've had to develop this skill over the years, and that is to be um, mindful that all good ideas they need a place to land for a while
Mm-hmm.
before you then try to take them forward, because they are. I understand the ripple effect. I've been the person who's
Yeah.
caused the ripple on numerous occasions because of my zealousness for fast forward motion,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, so I get it. I thank you for that. That was really good. I want to pivot really quick. I want to pivot really quick to something that's in your background that I know you're really proud of, and
Yeah.
I'm impressed by, and that is growing a team from 2 to 50 international. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to understand your hiring perspective. I'd
Yeah.
like to know a little bit more about how do you think about hiring when you're hiring international, and then your retention rate during that period of time was 90% with an international team.
Mm-hmm.
And just to it's easier said when you say international team, but you're talking multiple languages, right?
Yeah.
US
Cultural
and abroad,
barriers. Mm-hmm.
cultural barriers, time barriers. And I know a bit about your team's some of the regions that you were building this team in. I am fascinated by that. So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you look for, first of all, when you're hiring remotely? And I think anyone listening to this, because there's all this talk about hiring in the Philippines, hiring in LATAM, hiring in Europe, Pakistan, India, all the great places. But what do you
Mm-hmm.
look at first in hiring international?
Yeah, and so to clarify, like you were saying, Darrell, my experience is building a team overseeing the Philippines, which is going to be transferable to wherever you're looking, whoever's listening, wherever you're looking to hire overseas and internationally. But I'll kind of talk about the recruiting process that I created, and cannot say enough incredible things about the team that we built. It's at the company Repurpose House. They are an absolute team of rock stars with an incredible culture and best work ethic and mindset. Like that is an A plus plus team over there. um, but when we started it, I I really started by figuring out where am I going to find these amazing candidates? What is that process going to be like? How am I going to then screen them and make this an enjoyable process for them and us bringing them on? So I ended up using Indeed, but not in the traditional way that you use Indeed. So I wanted to use it as a way to simply get eyes on excuse me, Darrell. I wanted to get eyes on the job posting and the opportunity through Indeed, but that's not where I wanted them to apply. So there was a job posting on Indeed. You can also use, LinkedIn, avenues like that. And the first attention to detail thing, assessment, I guess, in the job description is outlining the position, the salary, their responsibilities, what that was going to look like, but then a link to a type form for them to actually go and apply. And I said very clearly, like, no, no applications in Indeed were going to get looked at. You do have to come here on this form to be able to apply. Then they go to the form, they have to record a video and upload a video explaining why they want the job, their resume, depending on the role, like specific work samples, whether it's graphic design, video, anything like that. We would also include some type of an assessment depending on the role. So for copywriting roles, they had to do writing sample. And then at the end of each one was an attention to detail assessment that said, on a scale of 1 to 10, rank your attention to detail. And there was very small font right under it saying, 10 is terrible attention to detail, 1 is the best. And you could tell who's reading fully and who's not.
So you flipped it.
Yeah, we flipped it just to see who's paying attention.
Got it.
And
I like
it
that.
would be really, it'd be really exciting to be able to get these applicants in because these are people who have already spent a lot of time. We really made it very clear in the job description the importance of like our culture and how we really wanted to grow this team. Sorry, Darrell, frog in the throat.
Take a break.
One sec.
Take a break. It's all good. It's all good. We'll pick it up. Don't fight through it. It's all good.
Much better. But
that's all right. Let's just land for a second so my podcast team knows, and then you can pick it up where you want.
Okay. But seeing those applications come in and like physically watching their videos was such a great feeling. And then from there, getting on the call with them, there were a few questions that we would ask no matter what to make sure that they were a great culture fit. So when we were looking for people, of course, we wanted them to have like some background or skill set in whatever it is we were hiring for: graphic design, copywriting, admin work, different roles. But the culture part was the most important. So thinking like, I'm ruining this for us, Darrell.
It's all good.
Okay, sorry.
Take your time. It's all good. I got you too excited.
Okay.
See, now you're excited. You're all fat.
I'm like, so let me think where I was just leaving off.
So you're talking about the interview questions on the culture fit?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of the interview questions were based around the culture component. And it would be like, we would ask them always, like, what's a question you're obsessed, or what's something you're obsessed with? And that was something we learned from a partner to see and make sure they're passionate about something. And a lot of them would say like an artist they loved or a hobby they loved. And, we have our core values too. look through our core values, and they'd have to come prepared with one or two that resonate with them and how they live that in their life. And just asking yourself as the one interviewing them, if you were hanging out with them at an airport, would they be your friend or someone you would get along with or someone you'd be excited to chat with? Like, is there a good connection and vibe there for someone you would want on your team? So we had a really good and strong recruiting process. The most important part, though, is once they have that offer letter, once they've signed it, they have a start date, making sure that their onboarding process is great, because that's what's going to help go toward the retention. Like, do they feel like they're being trained properly? Do they feel like expectations have been set properly before they do their 1-month review or 90-day review? Like, set them up for success with clarity and support and make things as seamless as possible for them to learn. So we had SOPs that they would go through. We used a tool called Flowster on day one. Everything is super streamlined. That part was really clean, and I feel like that helped make a difference for the leads and for the people, the new team members coming in too. So
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think what I heard there is this level of, and again, I'm very much an attention to detail type of person, even though I'm not in that COO side of things. But what I heard you say was like you put pre-qualifiers in
Mm-hmm.
the way of the process, so only the right candidates made it through the process. And it doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
everybody was hireable, but I'm with you on that. For years, hiring, whether it was local or international, I've done similar things. I love the idea of not allowing them to apply on Indeed and making them go to an outside forum. I love that idea. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
borrow that if you don't mind.
Oh, please do. Yeah. The
That's a
other
good
thing
strategy.
Yeah, the other thing I learned too, because we considered, reaching out to people on Upwork or other freelance sites, but we learned that they're dedicated to freelancing. Like, that is a
Uh-huh.
lifestyle that a lot of them
100%.
love. And so
Yep.
transitioning to another platform like Indeed and using the strategy, this is how I'm going to get eyeballs, that made a massive difference for us.
I have a question that I
Yeah.
see it all the time in our hiring over the last 13 years at the agency. And that is when someone has shown a propensity to be a freelancer on their resume, how
Mm-hmm.
comfortable do you feel that they're really dedicated to being a rock star employee now for your group when the last 6 years they're bragging about their freelance activity? It has always been an interesting paradigm shift. And I always have to ask this question, but how do you see that
Mm-hmm.
particular? I know you have to see it a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it depends on what they're going through in their life right then and there. So we had many conversations with people who were in the freelance and they wanted to become like a full-time team member somewhere because the industry got harder and they had a really difficult job finding clients recently. Or maybe they just had a baby, a child, and the pressure is really on. For some, it's like, my in-laws' parents have moved in with us. That's one, especially in the Philippines, there's big families living under one roof. And I think it depends truly on shifts that may or may not have happened in their life at that given time to really help them refocus their long-term goals.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of variables to that. I mean, I've got my own experience
Mm-hmm.
in 13 years, but it's always
Yeah.
been interesting to see how other people see that dynamic play out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk really quick as we start to uh, kind of bring this home. The COO is now the
Mm-hmm.
CEO. Come on now, let's go. So, what's that been like for you to be the COO? You know, the DNA of a COO, and now you're the CEO
Mm-hmm.
of your own company. What's that transition been
Mm-hmm.
like?
It's been such a whirlwind of excitement. Like, I mean, when I was a COO in that integrator position, I was seeking additional resources and like continued education and expertise specifically for people like me. And I was getting really frustrated. I was like, there's so many like masterminds and spaces for salespeople or marketing experts or entrepreneurs, but I couldn't find that space for me. And that's what created this idea to begin with. So, um, the transition felt like a no-brainer for me. I was really excited that I have this background as a COO, as being the right hand of CEOs, and then got to dabble in becoming a CEO and understanding how important that number two role is, that this idea just felt like something I couldn't not do. So being able to build my own brand through it now from scratch and working with clients, being able to help them in that capacity, and then eventually growing my own team is the goal. I'm excited to be able to do it with everything that I've learned, and now knowing the different dynamics that come from that number 2 and CEO position, and really being able to play in both.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I got to say, I want to ask you about what people can expect inside your academy in just a moment, but I got to tell you that one of
Mhm.
the things that was impressive about you to me during our short-term engagement, and let me be clear to everyone, it was a limited engagement. I really reached out to her because I just felt like there was something about our previous interactions when she first introduced
Mhm.
the Second in Command Academy to me. I was like, hey, I don't know if that's a good fit, but I actually do think I need your thinking on this topic, and that's how we
Mhm.
got connected. Um, I remember you sent me multiple follow-ups beyond what I paid, and I'm just going to say this on the air that extra giving was A, not expected, but B, taught me a lot about who you were and why it made sense that you have had the success that you had, because you didn't
Mm.
just do the thing I paid you for or give me the advice I paid you for. You continue to send me additional resources based on the conversation, just in case it might help. And I know that it wasn't salesy to get me to sign up for
Mhm.
Second in Command. It was completely out of your genuine spirit to help and serve. And I just want to thank you for that in front of everybody here on this particular platform, that I really appreciated, that you
Mhm.
didn't have to do. What do I mean, everybody? She was sending me Loom videos. She was sending me a recording of a conversation she had with someone else where it seemed to match my conversation. I think it was those couple of things that really caught my attention. So, Sarah, really appreciate your heart for service in doing that.
Thank you, Darrell. That's very humbling. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, tell everyone a little bit about what's inside, what they can expect in your world in the Second in
Yes.
Command Academy. Say who it's for one more time, and then let everybody
Mhm.
know where they can find you.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So everyone can find me, secondincommandacademy.com. And really, again, it's a space for people who are wearing that number 2 hat within their company. And again, it doesn't have to be a COO title. It's just if you are that person working most closely under your CEO, you are what I call an integrator, the second in command. This is a space for you. And there's several different resources and ways that I can help. One is through the actual academy, and there's 2 free weeks so that anyone can join. Get as much value as you want. It's a bank of 60 plus trainings that are already in there, and it's like systems, spreadsheets, scripts, PDFs that you can customize and plug into your business, as well as actual trainings on leadership and implementing things like we talked about here, like EOS and level 10 meetings with 2 new trainings per month. And then I also do one-on-one consulting containers with that second in command at a higher level if you're ready to dive in and you know you have some very specific like points that you're wanting to talk about. I become your mentor in your back pocket.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've experienced a few of these videos through my engagement with her. This is you officially started that when I hired you back then?
I had
I don't
just
know.
just launched it,
You
and
had just
I
started it.
wasn't able to fully commit to it yet. So now we're in a different
Yeah,
position.
yeah, you're all in now. You're all in now.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
Sarah, first of all, congratulations on finding your unique gifting in the world of business. You're young, you're energetic, you're giving, you're talented, you've done all the things necessary. And I know there's a
Thank
community
you.
that is going to be inspired by you and helped by you. And there are going to be companies that are benefited from their second in command, whoever that could be. And I've seen it all the way down to operations managers to literally the receptionist in in the front being called
Absolutely.
on. I mean, listen, I run a digital marketing agency. I've had people
Yeah.
inquire on behalf of the CEO, and I ask what their job title is, and they'll tell me they're the receptionist or something like that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. So it's a broad category, but I like what you said. Whoever's closest to the CEO who seems to
Mhm.
be catching everything they don't want to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So
That's them.
that's pretty incredible. Sarah, what's that domain one more time?
Oh,
Uh-oh, did we lose each other for a second?
we did. I Your audio and video cut out, but I see and hear you good now.
Okay, let's just go ahead and back it up. Let me go ahead and
Okay.
restate what I said. So, Sarah, tell everyone where they can find you one more time.
Okay, amazing. So anyone can find me at secondincommandacademy.com. That's where you're going to see all of my resources. But again, this space is truly for anyone who is that right hand to their CEO. So again, it can be a COO title, Director of Ops title, EA, Project Manager. If you are the one that's really between the rest of your team and the CEO, that integrator, like we talked about, that second in command, this space is for you. And there's multiple ways that I provide resources to you and your company. One is through my actual academy, which you can join. There's 2 weeks free, and you immediately get instant access to a bank of 60 plus lessons that have like spreadsheets, scripts, PDFs, things that you can customize and plug into your company, as well as lessons on things we've chatted about like leadership, recruiting, level 10 meetings. And then I also love to work with second in commands on a higher level basis, which is through my one-on-one containers, where I become a mentor in your back pocket and you have direct retainer access to me as well.
Amazing, amazing. We're going to link up all of the places where you can find Sarah, secondincommandacademy.com, as well as her Instagram. And Sarah, I just want to thank you again for being here on the show, for the work that we had an opportunity to do, and for all of the bright future you have as now the owner of your own business after helping another business become extremely, extremely successful. So I want to wish you all the best in your journey as an entrepreneur, and I'm happy to support any way I can.
Thank you, Darrell. This has been such a blast. I so appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. So, listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Hopefully, if you happen to be a person who is the second in command at your organization and maybe you need some resources and some help, be sure to reach out to Sarah. I guarantee you she'll take great care of you. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs listening to this and do not have a second in command, I cannot tell you with any less emphasis that it is critical to your growth as an entrepreneur. So many entrepreneurs are out here are side hustling and they're trying to do it all on their own, and you're proud of it. You're proud of the hustle and grind mentality. Don't let Instagram fool you, and don't let the people fool you. You will burn out if all you do is try to do everything yourself. So I'm telling you this from personal hand experience for 32 years. I think I know a thing or two about it. I've been on the burnout bus as well as been on the bus where I've got a full size team. And let me be clear, it is much better when you have a team and you have someone who is that second in command. Shout out to Nicole Sayosu, who is my second in command, so to speak, on my team. She is my co-pilot, as she likes to call it. She got married here recently and went on a honeymoon, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world is going to happen now?" But I survived. I survived. Anyway, Sarah, so much for listening, audience. If you haven't hit the follow or subscribe button, hit that button now. Make sure you never miss an episode. We'll be back again next week with another great interview. And for now, I'll wish you all the best in what you're working on. I'll see you on another episode of the MindShift Podcast. Take care. Hit the subscribe button so you can become a part of the MindShift community. We'll help you shift your mind so you can shift your results.